Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to our read aloud of The Claverings by Anthony Trollope. I am reading this book to you, chapter by chapter, word by word, with lots of editorial interruptions. And we, as you can see, are approaching the end of this book. Now, this Dover Classic held up fairly well, mainly because its binding is really good. It's sewn on there. So I'm surprised. I didn't think I would get to the end of this book with this thing intact. I don't know that it would survive another reading, but it survived this one just fine, and that's great. What a way for a book to be used. And we are, like I mentioned, well towards the end of this book. So it's time for Trollope to be wrapping up his plot lines. And so he has industriously done that. One of the things that we'll talk about in our summary video is that he wrapped up one plot line by simply killing characters that were in his way. And he's wrapped up a couple of other things that way, too. But there's one character in this book, one standout character, one memorable character, whose plotline was seemingly wrapped up a little earlier. But we want a little more of Sophie Gordeloup, don't we? we want a more definitive end to her story, don't we? Well, whether we do or not, that's what we're getting here in this chapter. Chapter 46 is called Madame Gordeloup Retires from British Diplomacy. And that is Trollope having fun. He has lots of fun with this character. The suspicion among doodles and his kind was that she was high up in British diplomacy. She's actually nothing at all. An extremely tertiary, paid little spy creature of the Russian embassy, but that's it. And here we are returning to the narrative focus of Sophie Gordeloup. We are leaving all of our other characters behind in order to see what's been happening with her. The reader must be asked to accompany once more to that room in Mount Street in which poor Archie practiced diplomacy, and whither the courageous Doodles was carried prisoner in those moments in which he was last seen of us. Remember, Doodles was bamboozled by Sophie Gordeloup and warned Archie Clavering about her, but then fell under her spell. And we say poor Archie here because he died off Heligoland. So he is not there anymore to have with money tucked into his glove to bribe her for access to Julie Ongar. The spy, that's what he refers to Sophie Gordeloup as, the spy was now sitting alone before her desk, scribbling with all her energy, writing letters on foreign policy, no doubt, to all the courts of Europe, but especially to that Russian court to which her services were more especially due. She was hard at work when there came a sound of a step upon the stairs. The practiced ear of the spy became erect, and she knew at once that it was not one with whom diplomacy would be much avail, and who was likely to have money ready under his glove for her behoof. "Ah, Edward, is it you? I'm glad you've come," she said to Count Pateroff as Count Pateroff entered the room. Count Pateroff is her brother and was very, very briefly a brooded paramour for Julia Ongar. "Yes, it is I. I got your note yesterday." "You are good, very good. You are always good." Sophie, as she said this, went on very rapidly with her letter, so rapidly that her hand seemed to run about the paper wildly. Then she flung down her pen and folded the paper on which she had been writing with marvelous quickness. There was an activity about the woman in all her movements which was wonderful to watch. "There," she said, "that is done. Now we can talk. Ah, I have nearly written my fingers off this morning." Her brother smiled, but said nothing about the letters. He never allowed himself to allude in any way to her professional duties as a spy. "So you are going to St. Petersburg," he said. "Well, yes, I think. Why should I remain here spending money with both hands and through the nose?" At this idea, the brother again smiled pleasantly. He had never seen his sister so culpably extravagant as she now described herself to be. "Nothing to get and everything to lose," she went on saying. "You know your own affairs best," he murmured. "Yes, I know my own affairs. If I remained here, I should be taken away to that black building there." And she pointed in the direction of the workhouse, which fronts so gloomily upon Mount Street. "You would not come to take me out." The Count smiled again. "You are far too clever for that, Sophie, I think." He doesn't deny it. There's no love between these two siblings. "Ah, it is well for a woman to be clever, or she must starve. Yes, starve. Such a one as I must starve in this accursed country if I were not what you call clever." The brother and sister were talking in French, and she spoke now almost as rapidly as she had written. "They are beasts and fools, and as awkward as bulls. Yes, bulls. I hate them all. Men, women, children, they are all alike. Look at that street out there. Though it is summer, I shiver when I look out in its blackness. It is the ugliest nation, and they understand nothing. Oh, how I hate them. They are not without merit. They have got money. Money, yes, they got money. They are so stupid you may take it from them under their eyes. They will not see you, but of their own hearts they will give you nothing. You see that black building, that workhouse, I call it Little England. It is just the same. The naked, hungry, poor wretches lie at the door, and the great fat beetles swell about like turkey cocks inside. You have been here long enough to know, at any rate. Yes, I have been here long, too long. I have made my life a wilderness staying here in this country of barracks. And what have I got for it? I came back because of that woman, and she has thrown me over. That is your fault. Yours. And you have sent for me to tell me that again? No, Edward. I sent for you that you might see your sister once more, that she might see her brother. This she said, leaning forward on the table on which her arms rested, and looking steadfastly into his face with eyes moist, just moist, with a tear in each. Whether Edward was too unfeeling to be moved by this show of affection, or whether he gave more credit to his sister's histrionic powers than to those of her heart, I will not say. But he was altogether irresponsive to her appeal. You'll be back again before long, he said. Never. I shall never come back to this accursed country, never again. No, I am going once and for all. I will soil myself with the mud of its gutters no more. I came for the sake of Julie, and now, how has she treated me? Edward shrugged his shoulders. And you? How has she treated you? Well, never mind me. Ah, but I must mind you. Only that you would not let me manage. It might be yours now, all of it. Why did you come down to that accursed island? She's referring here to Julia went on vacation, and she took Sophie Gordeloup with her. And it was a secluded place, it was a beachfront place, it was a sea walks place, and Count Pateroff showed up there. Now, Sophie Gordeloup is saying, why did you come down to that cursed island? I guarantee you she made him do it. She told him where they would be and when they would be there to get him to come down and press his suit. Is my way to play my game? Leave that alone, Sophie. And there came a frown over her brother's brow. Your way to play your game. Yes, and what has become of mine? You have destroyed mine, but you think nothing of that. After all that I've gone through, I have got nothing, and through you, my brother. Ah, that is the hardest of all, when I was putting all things in train for you. You are always putting things in train. Leave your trains alone, where I am concerned. But why did you come to that place in that accursed island? I am ruined by that journey. Yes, I am ruined. You will not help me get a shilling from her, not even my own expenses. Certainly not. You are clever enough to do your own work without my aid. And all all this is from a brother? Well, and now that they have drowned themselves, the two Claverings, the fool and the brute, and she can do what she pleases. She could always do what she pleases since Lord Ongar died. Yes, but she is more lonely than ever now. That cousin who is the greatest fool of all, who might have had everything, mon Dieu. Yes, everything. She should have given it to him with a sweep of her hand if he would have taken it. He is to marry himself to a little brown girl who has not a shilling. No one but an Englishman could make such follies as abominable as these. Ah, I am sick. I am sick when I remember it. And Sophie gave unmistakable signs of grief, which could hardly have been self-interested. But in truth, she suffered pain at seeing a good game spoiled. It was not that she had any wish for Harry Clavering's welfare. Had he gone to the bottom of the sea in the same boat with his cousins, the tidings of his fate would have been pleasurable to her rather than otherwise. But when she saw such cards thrown away as he had held in his hand, she encountered that sort of suffering which a good player feels when he sits behind the chair of one who plays up his adversary's trump and makes no tricks of his own kings and aces. He may marry himself to the devil, if you please. It has nothing to do with me, said the Count. I should point out here a couple of things. First of all, Sophie is lying about her expenses. Julia Ongar paid all her expenses. And second, is there something else going on here? What does she mean that she only came here for Julie? What does she mean by that? That she encountered Julia Ongar in Italy. Why did she come with her? To sponge off her? Or is it something else? But she is there, by herself, at that place. What is it called? 10B? Will you not go now, when you can do no harm? No, I will not go. And in a year, when she will have taken some other one for her husband? What is that to me? But look here, Sophie, for you may well understand me at once. If I were ever to think of Lady Ongar again as my wife, I should not tell you. And why not tell me, your sister? because it would do me no good. If you had not been there, she would have been my wife by now. Edward! What I say is true. But I do not want to reproach you because of that. Each of us was playing his own game, and your game was not my game. You are going now, and if I play my game again, I can play it alone. You don't have any game, Count Paterov, not with Julie Ongar. Anyway, upon hearing this, Sophie sat a while in silence, looking at him. You will play it alone, she said at last. You would rather do that? Oh, much rather, if play any game at all. And you will give me something to go? Not one sou. You will not? Not a sou? Not half a sou, for you go or you stay. Sophie, you are not a fool. You are not fool enough to ask me for money. And you are a fool who knows nothing. You need not look at me like that. I am not afraid. I shall remain here. I shall stay and do as the lawyer tells me. He says that if I may bring an action, she must pay me for my expenses. I will bring my action. I am not going to leave it all to you. No, do you remember those days in Florence? I have not yet been paid, but I will be paid. 175,000 francs a year, and after all, I am to have none of it? Say, should it become yours, will you do something for your sister? Nothing at all. Nothing. Sophie, do you think I'm fool enough to bargain in such a matter? Then I will stay. Yes, I will bring my action. All the world shall hear, and they shall know how you have destroyed me and yourself. Ah, you think I am afraid that I will not spend my money. I will spend all to be avenged. You may go or stay is the same to me. Now, if you please, I will take my leave. And he got up from his chair to leave her. Is the same thing to you? Quite the same. Then I will stay, and she will hear my name every day of her life, every hour. She shall be so sick of me and of you that oh, Edward. That last appeal was made to him because he was already at the door and could not be stopped by any other way. What else do you have to say to me, my sister? Oh, Edward, what would I not give to see these riches yours? Has it not been my dearest wish? Edward, you are so ungrateful. All men are ungrateful. Now, having succeeded in stopping him, she buried her face in the corner of the sofa and wept plentifully. It must be presumed that her acting before her brother must have been altogether thrown away, but the acting was, nevertheless, very good. If you are in truth going to St. Petersburg, he said, I will bid you adieu now. If not, au revoir. I am going. Yes, Edward, I am. I cannot bear this country longer. My heart is being torn to pieces. All my affections are outraged. And yet I am going, perhaps on Monday week. But I go, in truth. My brother, adieu. Then she got up, and putting a hand on each of his shoulders, lifted up her face to be kissed. He embraced her in the manner proposed, and turned to leave her. But before he went, she made to him one other petition, holding him by the arm as she did so. Edward, can you lend me 20 Napoleons till I am in St. Petersburg? No. Then lend your sister 20 Napoleons? No, I will never lend you money. It is a rule. Things are not so bad with you as that, I hope. No, she says, will you give me 5? I am so poor. I have almost nothing. And he says, things are not so bad with you as that, I hope. Ah, yes, they are very bad. Since I have been in this accursed city, now, this time, what have I got? Nothing. She was to be all in all to me, and she has given me nothing. It is very bad to be so poor. Say that you will give me 5 Napoleons. Oh, my brother. She was still hanging by his arm, and as she did so, she looked up into his face with tears in her eyes. As he regarded her, bending down his face over hers, a slight smile came upon his countenance. Then he put his hand into his pocket, and taking out his purse, handed her 5 sovereigns. Only 5, she said. Only 5. 1,000 thanks, oh brother. And she kissed him again, and after that he went. Proving, once again, this is like the 10th time that someone in this book has had to learn it, don't let Sophie Gordeloup anywhere near you physically. Don't let her anywhere near you physically. She accompanied him to the top of the stairs, and from thence showered blessings on his head till she heard the lock in the door close behind him. When he was altogether gone, she unlocked an inner drawer in her desk, and taking out the uncompleted rouleau of gold, added to her brother's sovereigns thereto. The sum he had given her was exactly wanted to make up the required number of 25. She counted them 6 times to be quite sure, and then rolled them carefully in paper and sealed the little packet at each end. Ah, she said, speaking to herself, they are very nice. Nothing else in English is nice, but only these. There were many rolls of money there before her in the drawer of the desk, some 10, perhaps 12. These she took out one after another, passing them lovingly through her fingers, looking at the little seals at the end of each, weighing them in her hand as though to make sure that no wrong had been done to them in her absence, standing them up one against another to see that they were of the same length. We may be quite sure that Sophie Gordeloup brought no sovereigns with her to England when she came over with Lady Ongar after the Earl's death, and that the hoard before her contained simply the plunder which she had collected during her latest visit to the accursed country she was now going to leave. But before she started, she was resolved to make one more attempt upon that mine of wealth which but a few weeks ago had seemed to lie open before her. She had learned from the servants in Bolton Street that Lady Ongar was with Lady Clavering at Clavering Park, and she addressed a letter to her there. This letter she wrote in English, and she threw into it her appeal of all the pathos of which she was capable. This was written from Mount Street, October 1860 whatever. Dearest Julie, I do not think that you would wish me to go away from this country forever, without a word of farewell to one whom I love so fondly. Yes, I have loved you with all my heart, and now I am going away forever. Shall we not meet each other once and have one embrace? Don't let her physically near you. If you embrace, she's going to hold on to you physically with claws until you give her money. No doubt, no trouble will be too much for me. No journey will be too long. Only say, Sophie, to come to your Julie. I must go because I am so poor. Yes, I cannot live here without my having the means. I am not ashamed to say my Julie, who is rich, that I am poor. No, nor would I be ashamed to wait on my Julie like a slave if she would let me. My Julie was angry with me because of my brother. Was it my fault he came upon us in our little retreat where we were so happy? How did he know about the retreat, if not for you? It was your fault. Oh, no, I told him not to come. I knew his coming was for nothing at all. She's just a minute ago told him that she'd like him to make another attempt. I knew where was the heart of my Julie, my poor Julie, but he was not worth that heart, and the pearl was thrown before a pig. And my brother, he has ruined me. Why am I separated from my Julie but for him? Well, I can go away, and in my own countries there are those who will not wish to be separated from Sophie Gordeloup. May I now tell my Julie in what condition is her poor friend? She will remember how it was that my feet brought me to England to which I had said farewell forever, to England where people must be rich like my Julie before they can eat and drink. I thought nothing then but of my Julie. I stopped not on the road to make merchandise, what you call bargain, about my coming. No, I came at once, leaving all things, my little affairs, in confusion, because my Julie wanted me to come. It was in winter. Oh, that winter! My poor bones shall never forget it. They are racked still with the pains which your savage winds have given me. And now it is autumn. 10 months have I been here, and I have eaten up my little substance. Oh, Julie, you who are so rich do not know what is the poverty of your Sophie. A lawyer have told me, not a French lawyer, but an English, that somebody should pay me everything. He says the law would give it to me. He have offered the money himself just to let me make an action. But I have said no, Sophie will not have an action with her Julie. She would scorn at it, and so the lawyer went away. But if my Julie will think of this and will remember her Sophie, how much she has expended, and now at last there is nothing left, she must go and beg among her friends. And why? Because she has loved her Julie too well. You, who are so rich, would miss it not at all. What would 200-300 pounds be to my Julie? Shall I come to you? Say so, and I will go at once, if I did crawl on my knees. Oh, what a joy to see my Julie. And do not think I will trouble you about money. No, a whole note is spent about money. No, your Sophie will be too proud for that. Not a word will I say, but to love you. Nothing will I do but to print one kiss on my Julie's forehead, and then retire forever, asking God's blessing for her dear head. Thine, always thine, Sophie. Not a word of truth anywhere. But is Julie going to give up? Is she going to give in? Lady Ongar, when she received this letter, was a little perplexed by it, not feeling quite sure in what way she might best answer it. It was the special severity of her position that there was no one to whom in such difficulty she could apply for advice. Of one thing she was quite sure, that willingly she would never again see her devoted Sophie. And she knew that the woman deserved no money from her, that she had deserved none, and had received much. Every assertion in her letter was false. No one had wished her to come, and the expense of her coming had been paid for her over and over again. Lady Ongar knew that she had money, and knew also that she would have had immediate recourse to law if any lawyer would have suggested to her the probability of success that he could get money for her. In other words, she wouldn't have waited. If she had a case, she'd have pressed it against her Julie. No doubt she had been telling her story to some attorney in the hopes that money might thus be extracted, and had been dragging Julie's name through the mud, telling all she knew of that wretched Florentine story. As to all that, Lady Ongar had no doubt, and yet she wished to send the woman money, because she is, as mentioned, a dimwit. There are services for which one is ready to give almost any amount of money payment, if only one can be sure that the money payment will be taken as sufficient recompense for the service in question. Sophie Gordeloup had been useful. She had been very disagreeable, but she had been useful. She had done things which nobody else could have done, and she had done her work well. That she had been paid for her work over and over again, there was no doubt. But Lady Ongar was willing to give her yet further payment, if only there might be an end of it. But she feared to do this, dreading the nature and cunning of the little woman, lest she should take such payment as an acknowledgment for services for which secret compensation must be paid, and then should proceed to further threats. Thinking much of all this, Julia at last wrote to her Sophie as follows, and we get this brittle little note. Lady Ongar presents her compliments to Madame Gordeloup, and must decline to see Madame Gordeloup again after what has passed. Lady Ongar is very sorry to hear that Madame Gordeloup is in want of funds. Whatever assistance Lady Ongar might have been willing to afford, she now feels that she is prohibited from giving any by the allusion which Madame Gordeloup made to legal advice. If Madame Gordeloup has legal demands on Lady Ongar, which are said by a lord to be valid, Lady Ongar would strongly recommend Madame Gordeloup to enforce them. In other words, you threatened me. And that's the part of your letter that stuck out. This she wrote, acting altogether on her own judgment, and sent off by return post. And if that were all she did, that would be fine. More than the answer that Sophie Gordeloup's letter deserves is silence. It would be more than she deserves, but it would be fine, but it's not all that she does. She almost wept at her own cruelty after the letter was gone, and greatly doubted her own discretion. But of whom could she have asked for advice? Could she have told all the story of Madame Gordeloup to the rector or the rector's wife? The letter, no doubt, was a discreet letter, but she greatly doubted her own discretion, and when she received her Sophie's rejoinder, she hardly dared to break the envelope. Poor Sophie. Her Julie's letter nearly broke her heart. For sincerity, little credit was due to her, but some little was perhaps due. I don't think so. That she should be called Madame Gordeloup, and have compliments presented to her by the Countess with whom and with whose husband she had been on such close familiar terms, did in truth wound some of the tender feelings within her bosom. Notice, Julia's letter is in the third person. Such love as she had been able to give, she had given to Julie. No, absolutely not. Tony, you've created such a great character. Let's not foul it up right at the last minute. Then she had always been willing to rob her Julie, and make a milch cow of her Julie, and to sell her Julie, and to threaten her Julie, and to quarrel with her Julie, if aught might be done in that way, to expose her Julie, nay, to destroy her Julie, if money was so to be made. All this did not hinder her love. She loved her Julie, and was broken-hearted that her Julie should have written to her in such a strain. But her feelings were much more acute when she came to perceive that she had damaged her own affairs by a hint of a menace which she had thrown out. It wasn't a hint, it was a threat. And Julie responded accordingly. If you've got a lawsuit that a lawyer thinks has merit, you should probably file it. But don't expect anything from me, if you're threatening me. Business is business, and must take precedence over all sentiment and romance in this hard world in which bread is so necessary. Of that Madame Gordeloup was well aware, and therefore, having given herself but 2 short minutes to weep over Julie's hardness, that's how much soft sentiment she has, 2 minutes, she applied her mind at once to the rectification of the error she had made. Yes, she had been wrong about the lawyer, certainly wrong. But then these English people were so pig-headed. A slight suspicion of a hint, such as that she had made, would have been taken by a Frenchman, by a Russian, by a Pole, as meaning no more than it meant. But these English are bulls. The men and women are all like bulls. Bulls! So at once she sat down and wrote another letter. Another in which an ecstasy of eagerness was to remove the evil impression which she had made, and that she wrote it almost with a natural effusion of her heart. Dear friend, your coldness kills me, kills me. But perhaps I've deserved it. If I said there were legal demands, I did deserve it. No, there were none. Legal demands. Oh, no. What can your poor friend demand legally? The lawyer, he knows nothing. He was a stranger. It was my brother spoke to him. What should I do with a lawyer? She said she spoke to a lawyer. Oh, my friend, do not be angry with your poor servant. I write now not to ask for money, but a kind word. For one word of kindness and love to your Sophie before she is gone forever. Yes, forever. Oh, Julie, my angel, I would lie at your feet and kiss them if you were here. Yours till death, even though you still are hard to me. Sophie. To this appeal, Lady Ongar sent no direct answer, but she commissioned Mr. Turnbull, her lawyer, to call upon Mr. Gordeloup and to pay that lady £100, taking her receipt for the same. Lady Ongar, in her letter to the lawyer, explained that the woman in question had been useful in Florence, and explained also that she might pretend that she had further claims. If so, said Lady Ongar, I wish you to tell her that she can prosecute them at law if she pleases. In other words, this is all you're getting. The money I now give her is a gratuity made for certain services rendered in Florence during the illness of Lord Ongar. This commission Mr. Turnbull executed, and Sophie Gordeloup, when taking the money, made no demand of any further payment. 4 days after this, the little woman, carrying a very big bandbox in her hands, might have been seen to scramble with difficulty out of a boat in the Thames up the side of a steamer bound from thence to Boulogne. And after her there climbed up an active little man who, with peremptory voice, repulsed the boatman's demands for further payment. He also had a bandbox in his arm, belonging, no doubt, to the little woman, and it might have been seen that the active little man, making his way to the table at which the clerk of the boat was sitting, out of his own purse paid the passage money of the 2 passengers, through to Paris. And the head and legs and neck of that little man were like the head and legs and neck of our friend Doodles, alias Captain Boodle of Warwickshire. He's paying. After all that of the abuse that he suffered at this woman's hands, after all the warnings that he gave to Archie Clavering about her, not only is he in her clutches, but she's siphoning off him. He's paying for things. All right, so that is bye-bye, not only to Doodles, but also to Sophie Gordeloup. And I think we can agree they each got what they deserved. So there is that chapter, and we will move on. Just a couple of chapters left, so I will see you next time. Thank you, BookTube.